Hi class, in this video we're going to talk about discounts and sales tax, and we're going to talk about how to find it using a calculator. And for sales tax, we're going to refer to GST, which is 5% throughout all of Canada. Now let's go over our first example. A pair of Nike shoes, which regularly sells for $90, are on sale for 20% off. So how do we find that? Well, first we have to find the amount of discount. So we have to find out uh, how much is 20% off. Then for our sales price, we simply take our regular price and subtract it from the amount of the discount. Then we simply find 5% GST using our sales price. So it'll be 5% of our sales price. Then once we find the GST, we simply add the sales price after it's already been discounted to the GST to get the total cost. So let me show you what I mean. Before we do this, first things first, you have to convert percents to decimals first. So I'm going to convert 20% to a decimal. To do that, I have to take 20, which is 20% here, divided by 100. And that's my percentage as a decimal. So 20% divided by 100 is going to be 0.2. Great. Now for GST, which is 5%, I do the same thing. 5% divided by 100. Right, so let's do that. 5 divided by 100 is going to be 0.05. Okay, great. Now, for amount discounted, it is 20% off. Hence, I simply take my 20%, which is now 0.2. I'm going to multiply it by my regular price, which is $90. So 0.2 times 90 is 18. So hence the amount discounted off is going to be, once I do 0.2 times 90, it's going to be $18. So that's the amount off. It's 20% off, which is, yeah, I got 20% off is $18 off. So for the sales price, I simply write $90 and I subtract it from $18. And this is my price after I have 20% off. So 90 minus 18 is going to be 72. So my sales price after the discount is $72. Now for GST, we have to take 5% of 72. So here's what we're going to do. 5% is 0.05. So I'm going to write that in my calculator, 0.05. I'll write it here as well, 0.05. And I'm going to multiply it by my sales price, because that way I pay less taxes. And it's the right way to do it, because I would pay more tax. 5% of 90 is more than 5% of 72. So 0.05 times 72. The reason this works is because 0.05 is actually 5%. So, and I'm looking for 5% of 72. But to multiply it with a calculator, I have to first change the percent to a decimal. So now I got 0.05 times 72. Let's write that in our calculator. Hit equals, I get 3.6. So that means that GST must be $3.60. So now for the total cost, after the discount, I pay $72. But however, I also still have to pay taxes before I can leave the store. So I'm simply going to write 72 plus 360. I mean 72 plus $3.60. So let's add those together. 72 plus 3.6. The answer I'm going to get is 75.6. So hence my total cost should be $75.60. Great. So that's how you solve problems with a calculator. Now let's move on to question 2. It says you buy a plasma screen TV for Mr. Cable. It costs $3,000 but is 10% off. So first let's find the amount discounted. First things first, let's find out let's change 10% to its decimal form first. So I'm going to divide 10% by 100. And let's see what I get when I type it into my calculator. So 10 divided by 100 is 0.1. I get 0.1, so that's 0.1. So 10% is 0.1 as a decimal. Now, we already solved for 5%, right? 5%, if I divide it by 100, I'm simply going to get 0.05. Okay, great. Now, for the amount discounted, I'm simply going to take my 10%, which is 0.1, and I'm going to multiply it by my original cost, which is 3,000. So 0.1 times 3,000. Let's write that into our calculator. 0.1 times 3,000. Let's see what I get. I get $300. So I get $300 off. So my sales price should be the original price, which is $3,000, minus my discount, which is $300. So the price that I have now after the discount is $2,700. Yeah, $2,700. So for GST, I'm basically finding 5% of my sales price. So 5% is 0.05, hence I write 0.05 here now. I'm simply going to multiply it by my sales price. So upon doing so, let's see what I get. 0.05 times $2,700. So I'm going to get $135 here. $135. Hence, my total cost is going to be my sales price after the discount plus the taxes that I have to pay, which is my GST. And my total cost would be, let's add it together, $2,700 plus $135. I'm going to get $2,835 for my total costs. Now, let's do the last example. I want to buy, or you want to buy, a video camera for $1,100 that is on sale for 30% off. What is the amount of the discount? So first things first, let's find out, let's change 30% to its decimal form. So 30% divided by 100, let's become a decimal. Let's type 30 in the calculator, divide it by 100. Let's see what I get. I'm simply going to get 0.3. So 30% is 0.3 as a decimal. Now, we've done 5% enough that we know if we divide it by 100, it's simply going to be 0.05. That's what we got up here as well, so we're going to trust it. Now, we have these percents as decimals. Let's go ahead and solve now. Amount of discount is going to be my 30% of the 1,100. So 30% is 0.3. So hence I simply type in 0.3 and I'm going to multiply it by $1,100. Okay, great. So, sorry, that zero is bothering me here. I'm gonna draw it again. So yeah, 0.3 times $1,100. Let's type that in our calculator. 0.3 times $1,100. I'm going to get $330. So that's the amount I have discounted. So my sales price should be the $1,100 minus the amount discounted, which is $330. And this is going to be the new price I'm going to pay before taxes. So $1,100 minus $330. I'm going to get $770. That's the price I paid before taxes. Now I have to apply on a 5% GST tax. So for GST, once again, 5% is actually 0.05 as a decimal. I'm going to multiply that by my sales price. Now let's see what I get. 0.05 times $770. I'm going to get $38.50. So my total cost should be my price after I got the discount plus the GST, which is the taxes that I have to pay to the government to leave the store. So $770 plus $38.50 is going to get me $808.50. So $808.50. So hopefully this gives you a better idea of how to calculate and solve for discounts and GST problems when you have a calculator.